My name is Brian Graham. I'm a professional artist. Have been for many years. I got to know Andy Caro quite well towards the end of his life. He had a holiday retreat in Purbeck, and I live in Purbeck as well, and we had some quite good conversations. He came to my last exhibition with my London gallerists, purchased the work, but I've known him actually for quite a few years. I had my first Cork Street show in 1995, and he popped in to sort of say hello there, and after that we got to know each other quite well through my work as visual arts consultant at Bournemouth University, a post I held for quite a few years, because he was always very generous. He and his wife Sheila Gurling was a fine painter. They were both very interested in, I think, artists right across the board. He was this grand figure, but never seemed to show it, even though he operated at the very highest level in world terms. As I've just been saying, he was very, I think, generous to other artists. Interestingly, I come from Poole. I was born in Poole. My parents came down at the end of the war, and we moved to a little place called Oakdale, which is a suburb, and I went to Oakdale Junior School and Poole Grammar. So I know this borough intimately, and I'm very fond of it. What happens here matters to me. It somehow has an honesty around it, Poole, which is still apparent whenever you walk through the Dolphin Centre, I think it's called now. You get that spirit. You know you're back in Poole, always know that. And when I was young, the George Hotel, which I believe is still there at the sort of top end of the town, before the Dolphin Centre was built, and it's had a few names in between, there was just essentially one long high street, which spilled out onto the quay, exactly where Sea Music is positioned now. And who would have known that one day we would have an internationally famous artist, sculptor and artist as well, standing proud as you come round the corner. There's this magnificent lyrical blue piece which stands proud. It has to be maintained because it's against the salt air all the time, and therefore will have to regularly be maintained. But you know, the people of Poole, I referred to this earlier, should be very proud of this piece, and it is worth investing in. We live in a time, so we're told, of cultural tourism. And I also referred earlier to how we should perhaps make more of it. Well, let's shout about this. Let's get people to come and see this thing, you know. Get on a coach, get on a bus, get on a train, get in a car. Do whatever's necessary to just come and really enjoy it and experience it. And of course, the other wonderful thing about it is when the other day we had the birthday celebrations for the piece, and we had a children's choir. And of course, you know, and the programme notes for the children singing had a lovely drawing on there. And that's the other thing about art, even though it's been under threat recently. Art, it doesn't seem to matter anymore. Well, it does. It's crucial to people's well-being, even in ways perhaps they don't always understand. That sounds very pompous of me. I don't mean to say that, but you know, watching those children, when you see them make little drawings, they're connecting through space. So it helps them with their maths, it helps them with all the sciences, as well as art. It helps them understand the structure of language. It works in so many ways. It just so happens that I have an exhibition of my own work, a major show at Salisbury Museum, scheduled for January 2018. So that's a good 12, 13 months or so away. And it will run until April. And it is called Towards Music. I produced a body of work based on my absolute fascination with emerging humanity, how we as a species, an early species, came out of Africa. But language and music, much researched by all sorts of scientific people. When did this process take place? And there are all sorts of ideas and thoughts on this. Well, as an artist, I thought, well, I'm not going to be dissuaded from having my own take on this. And I have produced 40 equally sized works on this theme. So I start, each one is incidentally dedicated to someone significant in the music world. So I start with La Mer and Debussy, the sea, which ties in very nicely with Andy Caro. No, this is no clever plan for this to happen, but that is the case. I am with Bach, because Bach probably is God when it comes to music, and the crucifixion. I'm not a religious person myself, but I respect how people have been inspired by their faith, whatever that is, and how it's helped them to make some of the greatest art ever produced. You only have to think of the great Renaissance painters, the Rembrandts. Enough said, really. So, returning to my own series, I've looked at how this process of music, as I said, has come about, and put forward really, I suppose, 40 questions about, or 40 suggestions, which then people can argue about. I hope it's a forum for debate. I made the images with the self-interest of all artists because I wanted to make them, and I thought I had a theme that I wanted to develop, and it just grew and grew, and 40 was there was no particular reason why it was 40, it just panned out that way. What is another interesting aspect of sea music is that if you were the piece of sculpture yourself and could listen to what was going on around you, you would hear the rain pitter-pattering on your surface, you would hear the wind blowing through your wonderful lyrical shape. In the summer you would hear the tourists shouting, having had a few, having a great night out, looking up and probably saying, what the hell's that up there? But it is interesting, we tend to look at things from our perspective. If you can try and turn that inside out, what is the music? What is the sculpture hearing? And of course it's inanimate. But it's an interesting way of thinking about sculpture from the inside out. I didn't talk to Tony that much about music. He, if anything, slightly played it down, the listening to music, although his wife assured me he loved Brahms, I think it was, and it was obviously so important to him that the music, you don't make wonderful pieces like that with all of that form and understanding of form if you're not deeply musical. Now, I'm not deeply musical. I don't know whether he was, in terms of being able to read music or understand. In fact, not only am I not musical, I can't read a score, but the effect the music has on me is overwhelming. Now, I suspect the same was true of Tony Caro, because I don't think you can make a piece like that and commit to a piece like that if you don't feel music very deeply indeed. Coming back to Andy Caro and sea music, he could not, I've said this already, he couldn't have made that piece without feeling music very deeply, because that's the thing, in the creative process, sometimes in the middle of it, because some of these pieces I'm doing are actually quite sculptural. You reach a sort of impasse, you don't know quite where to go with it. And the music helps to guide you back. You hear the musician, you hear the music, and you think, you know, if their style is particularly harsh or guttural or discordant like Schoenberg, you might want to you take that on board. If it's beautiful, sensuous sort of music like Manuel de Fire, then you think about that. One of the pieces in my series is called Ritual Fire Dance, and it's based on the famous work that he made. I'm very aware that the art world is regarded by a lot of people as being elitist, not in touch with the world, having its own dynamic, only interested in itself, totally self-indulgent, with the attitude, if you don't like it, tough. Who cares anyway? But I know, because I have taught, I know from experience that sometimes, well not sometimes, often people need a lot of help to find their way into what they regard as very difficult work. Often to cover almost their own embarrassment, they'll be dismissive. What the hell's that big blue thing over there? You know, But then if you start to talk about it and say, well, have you thought about it like this? Have you walked around it? Have you walked up to it? I was going to say, have you smelt it? That's probably the wrong thing to say. I don't mean that. But sometimes you need to point things out and say, well, look at the height of it in relation to that. Does it remind you of something else in life you know? Does that shape remind you of anything else? Does the walkway, which sort of bestrides it, do you think that gets in the way? Does it help when you go up onto the second floor? In other words, people need encouragement to help them not feel embarrassed about the fact that they might like something which a lot of people regard as abstract. With this piece, Sea Music, Caro wanted engagement. He wanted people to get up to it, to walk back from it. He in a sense, he wasn't elite. He was a sophisticated man who operated, as I said, at the very highest level in the art world. He's hugely regarded across the globe. This isn't someone who's quite a big name. He's colossal. And we at Poole should really be shouting about it. But of course, if people don't know who he is, so maybe we need a bit more of an education program. Let's get working on saying to people, come and see this piece. Come and see it for yourself. No, don't rely on someone else. And have an opinion. And if you go away and you don't like it, well, at least you've tried to experience. And maybe that's just opened up something in there that might make you a little bit more receptive next time. Now I know that's a long haul, and people will say, well, why should I bother? I've got other things in my life, more important things. I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got a family to run. But you know, art and music are a very important part of our lives. I can't imagine ways that people don't realise. Art and design, the shopping bag they carry, the building they work in, someone designed it, made it, and a whole series of experts came together in order for that to happen. So don't just accept, and I don't want to sound like a teacher here, but just don't accept that things are what they are because they've always been there or they've suddenly popped up overnight. Look at it, have a think about it. And when you suddenly come down and see this piece, Sea Music, it's not really like anything else, you know. You might see, usually in sculpture parks or in specialist spaces, you'll see these things. But to walk down and see it for the first time, I can imagine people who know about art would say, is that a Caro? Can't be, is it? In Poole? That's a big Caro, that's a major. That's not one of these small table pieces, that's a colossal thing. Come on, let's be proud of it, let's do the cultural tourism bit. It'd be good for Poole, it'd be good for the residents of Poole, it'd be good for the Poole economy. But, it requires a little bit of effort to make sure this thing is known about. So let's bang the drum, musical term there, for the Caro sculpture.